can you, hello? All right, I think we're good now. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am going to be doing some bug fixing today, as well as, what? There's this one thing that I want to try doing. I have no idea how successful it's going to be, but I want to give it a shot, and we'll see how it goes. It's probably going to end up being far too much effort, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that the Alchemortis public playtest is available right now. So you can scroll down, you could join the playtest here from this request access button, give it a shot. Let me know what you think in the Discord. And also, it would be awesome if you could drop a wish list for it. And then also I've got the Patreon. The Patreon is a great way to support me. Even though the game is published, the Patreon support is still very much appreciated and helpful. So you can subscribe at either tier, but the $15 a month tier, if you subscribe for at least 1 month, I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key for the game. So this is like a pre-purchase if you subscribe for at least 1 month. And I will also put your name in the in-game Alchemortis credits when the game launches. So yeah, that's just an extra thank you for supporting. And you can also purchase my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So all those ways are great ways to support me, but also, you know, just liking the video, subscribing to the channel, following on Twitch, all of that good stuff is very helpful. Hello, Clickertail, welcome back. Emerson, good to see you. 2SocksX, welcome. Good morning, Ninja Link, good to see you. This game looks so good and addictive. There's a public playtest happening right now, you should check it out. Yeah, yep, there is a public playtest. Give it a shot, 2SocksX, let me know what you think. Buddy got compared to Brackies, what a compliment. Did I get compared to Brackies? I didn't see that, but if so, then yes, that is quite a compliment for sure. Okay. So one of the things, so I was working on fixing your bugs that you reported. They are your bugs. They're not my bugs. You guys found them. They're your responsibility. No, I was addressing the bugs that a lot of you reported. And so I had 47 bugs and now I'm down to 8 bugs. So I've fixed whatever that is, 39 bugs. I fixed all the bugs related to lacking ability explanations once and for all, because I have now in my translation generator, since I need to run the translation generator after I add new abilities anyway, because this is how I get the explanations, I have this validate ability keywords method here, which essentially just looks at all the keywords that are in the description of the ability, and it validates that those ability explanations have their corresponding objects in the get explanations result here. So this should make it such that I never have a situation again where I'm missing an explanation on an ability that needs to be there. So for example, this tool caught Sage. I don't know if Sage was one thing that was reported, but if I remove poison from the Sage as an ability explanation and I try to run this, any day now. No, that's cool. That's cool. 20 core processor. Just take your time. Thank you. So if I run this translation generator, it should fail. Yeah. So it failed here. It says, basically, this is really tiny and I can't make it bigger, but it basically says the card Sage heal per opponent poison ability uses keyword poison, but poison is missing from get explanations. And so that actually fails to output the translation file. So this validation step actually requires that all of the explanations be configured correctly before it will actually output the updated translation file. So that's basically going to ensure that those kinds of errors never happen again. Now, it doesn't work the other way. Like, it doesn't detect that there are more explanations than need to be there. which I may want to do in the future. But the biggest issue was the missing explanations. And that was actually a big deal because it's kind of weird the way that it works. But if I want to, like, some items scale off of like fire abilities, right? And a fire ability can be any ability that deals fire damage or applies fire stacks, rather, or an ability that scales off of fire, right? Or has something to do with fire that's not directly related to applying stacks. And so the way that I have abilities that scale off of, for example, fire abilities, is I actually, instead of checking like all these different configurations that the abilities can be in to like see if anywhere fire is mentioned, I just get the ability explanations and say, is fire in this ability's explanation? If so, it's a fire ability, right? And that's a way of like greatly simplifying, because otherwise, you know, determining whether something is a fire ability is often a matter of like going deep into like the internals of different abilities and like figuring that out. And that would just be too much work, right? So the ability explanations are actually important. They're not just for display purposes. They actually have gameplay uses in some cases. And so it's really important that those are correct. So I forgot, like something like 6 or 7 or 8 of those bugs that I fixed yesterday were related to just that. So once I fixed that issue, I had, there were like, what was it? There was like 37 or 47 instances of the ability explanations being wrong. So I just went through and I like just one at a time, I fixed all of them. But they're all fixed now. So that's good. What else? Was there any other major abilities that I fixed? I fixed the issue where items could like be small after alchemy. I don't need to go into that one, but that's fixed. I'm trying to see if there's any other notable ones. I fixed a bunch of the language inconsistencies as well. I think that's basically it. I fixed being able to open the unlocks menu or settings menu when you're like leaving the game, when you're leaving the run. Fixed the shop price bug. So right now I'm working on fixing this immovable monolith. It was not applying its ability, or it was applying its ability. Oh, the other thing I fixed, this is an important one. I fixed the item art being rendered as empty when you're at high tiers. Let me just add artifact calipers, add artifact calipers. Oh gosh, do I have to do this over and over again? Add artifact calipers. Can I copy this? Oh, look at that. Okay, so we got a bunch of calipers. That increases my max tier. And if I add item, skeleton commander, let's just do 50. So I've changed this now. I could not figure out for the life of me why it was not rendering the art if there were too many of these like little tier indicators. And I found out that once you hit 10 tier indicators, the art would just disappear. I have no idea why that was happening. There were no errors in the console. The tier indicator code is really straightforward. It doesn't like change anything. There's only like one place in the entire code base where the art is hidden, and that's in the unlocks menu when you have items locked. So I was like, I don't know. But modern problems require modern solutions, so I just made a different tier indicator. So for every 5 tiers you have on a card, it just uses like a red tier indicator. So this one has... Now I feel like this is wrong, because that says 12 and it's only got 2. Maybe it's wrong. Is it missing some? So the thing that makes this a little bit confusing, so it's missing a couple. Okay, so I need to fix that. But anyway, it uses a red tier indicator now for every it's for every 5 tiers. But it excludes the first tier, so like it's like every 5 tiers after the first tier. This one is correct. This one just is missing the extra green one that it needs. Do I want to fix that now? I guess I should. But anyway, I'm just rendering a fewer number of images now for the tiers, and that fixes it. So let's see. Grouped indicators, adjusted tier, base card.tier -1 divided by group number. So we take base card.tier -1. So if we're at tier 6, this is going to be 5. So if we're at tier 12, we do base card.tier -1, that's 11. 11 divided by 5 is 2, so it'll do 2 grouped indicators. Okay, and then it's going to do 11 minus grouped indicators times group number. That's correct. So it should be doing an extra one. I is equal to grouped indicators. Wait a minute. 11 minus... Oh, this is equal to... Oh, wait a minute. Should this be 0? I think that might need to be 0, and then this I here needs to be grouped indicators plus I. I don't know if that's correct. Let's figure it out. I don't know why it was kind of working if that was all that was wrong. This is how I test. I just add a bunch of artifacts. The devlog comments, gotcha. I'm working on a Minecraft add-on that lets you launch pumpkin tokens from a Bedrock server. Interesting. 6-7. All right, that's fun. Hello, Woundysaurus. Would relying on ability explanations that for that cause problems when they are translated? No, because it's not doing a string comparison. The ability explanations are objects, and they are singleton objects, basically. So when I check that there's holy, I'm checking that the object exists. I don't care about like the strings inside of here. I'm just checking if the object exists. And this object is the thing that the game works off of. And then the object, when we're reading like translated strings, when we're trying to translate the string, it will get those keys from the object itself. So you can see that the ability explanation here, title translation key, description translation key, these will be used for the actual display text, these translation keys. But the objects are the things that are used in the code. So these are going to be stable always. Probably not rendering the blue ones, not together with the red. No, it is. It is. It's just bugged. Okay, I think it works now. My cats are being annoying. That should only be 2. So it's weird because it's like, it doesn't show a tier indicator for tier 1, which makes sense, right? So I'm showing each red indicator represents 5 tiers, and we're at tier 11. So that makes sense. So let's add item commander 10. So I should see yeah, it's hard to tell, but there's four blue ones there and 1 red one. I may improve the display of that later, but So fix tier indicator again. All right. Should be 2 red and 2 blue, yeah. I think so. It's adding red for every 5, but not adding the blue stars after 10. Haven't been here for years. Did you do the art by yourself? I did. I did, indeed. You developing this all alone? Yes. I mean, well, it depends on what you mean. Alchemortis does have a publisher. The publisher is not involved in the actual creation of the game at all, so the game creating process is entirely in my purview. An artist was hired for the Steam capsule art, and I'm hiring my friend to compose the music for the game. But beyond those things that I mentioned, everything else is entirely solo. So I'm doing all the gameplay programming, I'm doing all the game design and tweaking game design, I'm doing all the art, I'm doing all the sound design. I don't make my own sound effects, I get those from libraries, but I take those sound effects and I put them into the game, or I modify them in whatever ways need to be modified so that they work in my game. Okay. So anyway, what I was originally going to move into before I noticed that tier indicator issue is that, so there was a bug report that the monolith, it increases the tier of items, right? But what was happening is that anything that was like a passive cooldown, like the Skeleton Commander, reduced the cooldown of adjacent allied undead items by 0.8 seconds. That was not actually propagating. So you would put the Skeleton Warrior here, and it would be 2.5 instead of 2.2, because 0.5 is the default number here. So the monolith was increasing the tier of the Skeleton Commander, but then that was not propagating its updated ability scaling to undead items. And that was just ultimately an order of operations issue. What was essentially happening is, so this is a little bit weird, but I've got 4 different categories of non-combat abilities, and these all update in different phases. So when the board updates all of the non-combat abilities, it goes and updates all the early non-combat abilities first, then all the regular non-combat abilities, then all the passively projected abilities, and then all of the late non-combat abilities. And the reason for this is because this gives me some control over the order of operations, because otherwise everything just happens in the execution order. But the problem, of course, if I just did things straight in the execution order, what would happen is exactly what I just mentioned, which is that, so the execution order, again, it goes column by column from top down, right? So it starts at the left column and goes down, and then it starts at the second column and goes down, and then down, and then down. And so whatever card it hits first down that column is the card that gets updated first. So what you'd end up with is a situation where the Skeleton Warrior would be updated first. It doesn't have any non-combat abilities, so it wouldn't do anything. And then the Skeleton Commander gets updated second. That would reduce the cooldown of this guy by 0.5. And then the monolith would go third, and it would upgrade the tier of this thing. But since this thing already executed, it doesn't have that tier data. Like, it didn't execute with the proper tier data, right? Because the tier is being increased after it already executed. So there's a number of ways that I'm controlling that by just like bucketing the different abilities. But the problem is I still may have abilities within those buckets that need to execute before other abilities. And so I'm faced with a conundrum, which is that during a non-combat phase update, during like updating all the passive abilities, I need more control over the order of operations when the abilities get updated. And so there's a couple of directions to go. I can modify this system to be a numerical priority system instead, where I could have just an arbitrary number of numbers, bucket all of the like numbers together, sort them by ascending order, and then update all the items in each bucket according to that order. And so that would just be a generalized solution for this, right? The problem is that I literally have to iterate over every single card for every bucket. Now that actually may not be the case, because if I bucket things, then I could just select only the cards in that bucket. So that is one approach. The other approach that I was going to tinker with on this stream, which I'm not super confident is going to work. The other approach I was going to do is basically keep rerunning the updates until things stop changing. So I don't have to worry about ability execution order anymore. Because if I were to, for example, in that order that we're talking about, so this skeleton commander applies that ability there, then this applies the tier to the skeleton commander. What I would do is I would say, oh, the state has changed, right? First of all, the state has changed because this skeleton warrior had its cooldown reduced. But the state has also changed because this had its tier increased, right? So I've detected that the state has actually changed to the board, so I would just do a pass again. And I would keep doing passes until it stops changing from pass to pass, right? So essentially I would get like a score, or I'd measure somehow like what is the state of each item in the board currently. I would execute the passive ability update pass, and then I would grab the state afterwards, and I would compare those two things, and I would say, was the initial state different than the state that we ended up with after we did the update? If so, just run the updates again, right? So the one problem with that approach, though, is that Azir, you're being annoying, cat. Get out. Go. Go. Get out. Go. 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 All right, well, he's not listening. Can you believe that? A cat isn't listening. Goodness gracious. Look, he doesn't look guilty at all, does he? He doesn't look bothered at all by interrupting my work. So the problem with doing that approach that I just said, which I didn't really think about, is that I don't have a way of like applying. I don't think that's actually going to solve anything, because one of the critical parts of this system is that it resets everything between passes, right? So if my ultimate goal is to figure out what's changing moment to moment, I'm essentially just going to be resetting everything anyway. So like I can't track, like I can't do, okay, here's all the changes, and then, oops, something changed, so I need to do it again. Because I have no way of like, for example, with the tier increase, I have no way of saying, okay, preserve the tier increase for the next pass, right? Because we need to keep that stable. And don't increase it again. Like, don't have the immovable monolith increase it again. So I actually think that this is probably going to be impossible, this approach that I was just thinking of. Impossible without major reworks to the system. Because when it does the update pass, it clears all of the passive data and then reapplies it all. And so if I'm trying to do a system where I'm like measuring the change pass to pass, it's always going to be the same amount of change, because I'm clearing everything and then I'm applying the changes and I'm saying, oh, it's different. Then I clear everything and I apply the changes and I say, oh, it's different. What I need is like, if in order to do this, I would need to actually track like what modified what, and then only clear the things that need to be cleared. So I don't think that approach is going to work, actually. I mean, I think in theory, it sounds like it would work, right? Like in theory, if I could just run the passes, the update passes multiple times until everything stabilizes, then I wouldn't have to worry about the order of operations at all. But that's not possible, at least with the setup that I have. Because like I need to know, oh, the monolith already applied its ability to these items on a previous pass, so don't do that. But then it's like, what if that ability is conditional, right? What if that ability says, well, it's going to only apply this passive if like these other conditions are met, but those other conditions don't get met until some other conditions are met. And it's like you've got this cascading set of like conditions that. So I may just have to take the bucket approach, honestly. Would it make more sense just to have a phase system where each phase resolves something? So you can resolve any stat modifications on phase 1, apply damage on phase 2, or whatever makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing, right? It's just more generic than that. I have early non-combat abilities, so on and so forth. Non-combat abilities, passively projected abilities. Wish my cat was annoying. Got a new one and bro just eating and hiding. Well, yeah. New cats are like that. My friend linked me your stream and I joined because he was like, watching this guy do live game development, it's so much work, and now I'm here. Oh, nice. And I fear this does look like a lot of work. It is a lot of work, yes. Welcome, though. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Game development is a lot of work. Of all of my experience in software, which is substantial, I worked professionally for 7 or 8 years, something like that. And I was also working part-time in college for a software company. Game development is definitely the hardest thing to do. Like, it's I find that you, like, of all my software experience, the most difficult problems that I've ever encountered have been in game development. Whether you're talking about like algorithms or whatever, just logical flow of stuff. Even like this problem is more difficult than anything that I had to do in software. And it's just harder in the sense that, like, with software, you just get like you get a series of requirements, right? And it's like your software is finished, your feature is finished if it meets all the requirements. But that's not how game development works, right? Like, you can come up with a list of technical requirements for your game and implement all of them, and then your game could still like not be fun at all, right? So it's not like we have a clear goal, here's what we need to fix, or here's what we need to implement, and then we're done. We can move on. It's more like, I hope this works, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to do it again, right? Maybe you just need new phases. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. Oh my gosh, this cat is like being hyperactive right now. So we've got non-combat composed ability, early non-combat composed ability, late non-combat composed ability. What was the third one I had? Passive projected abilities, passive projected only. This cat is being very distracting. I can't maintain a train of thought. Okay, we're gonna kick you out now. Goodbye. Okay. So passive projected roots. Non-combat ability projector. Yeah, so I may need to do, let me think. I just wish there was a cleaner way to do this. Oh, this may be quite an ordeal, actually. Let's see. So I'm thinking I'm just going to start stubbing something out. I have no idea if this is going to work. Non-combat phased update, something like that. We'll create a new branch for that. So public enum update phase, we'll call it non-combat update phase. And we will do something like, I don't know, we'll do something like priority equals 0, early equals 1, normal equals 2, late equals 3, and then we'll do like end equals 4. So I guess the idea here is that I would be able to extend this as necessary, and then like as I need different phases, I can just extend the enum. You know what I may actually do? Actually, I don't need to do that. I was thinking I might just set these to 0, 100, 200, 300, 400. And so if I want to add a new phase, like I could just do like, hello, and just put it like in here. So I have basically like, 100 spots in between each different one where I can insert different buckets. But I can do that later. Buckets, I can just like increase these numbers by 100 because I want to preserve the ordering, right? Actually, do I need to do that either? Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm overthinking that. Anyway, that's okay. And then we're going to do a public class non-combat ability configuration. We'll make that extend ability configuration. And we're going to do public required non-combat update phase. So I'm obviously not using that yet, but we get rid of this. We're going to get rid of late non-combat only and early non-combat only. So I'll just comment these out for now. I'll delete those later. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do flattened so this is the part where I'm going to need, oh, this flattens all of them. I need to actually, right, I need to do non-combat roots is equal to non-combat roots dot. I don't need to do a group by. Can I just do an order by? So this is where I'm going to need to go to non-combat composed ability. This needs to take non-combat ability configuration. I might have to update this too. Private composed ability configuration. Let's just call it ability config. Can I invoke that? Oh, maybe I can't do that. Oh, maybe I can't do that. Probably have to create a new method. I don't really know what I'm doing here. That's all right. Ability config. All right, this is a little bit wonky, but that's okay. So the idea here is that I take the non-combat composed ability, I do public ability builder dot non-combat update phase, get private set. It's not going to work either. So this dot ability factor is equal to ability factory. Get rid of this. Am I doing this all wrong? Congrats on finding a publisher. Thank you, Evan. Appreciate that. It's been so long since I podcasted a stream. Is the playtest ongoing? It is, yes. You can extend enums. Well, I mean, you can supply your own values for enums. Okay, this is just a mess. Here's what I'm gonna do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the ability config object. So let's do this. Let's do protected virtual void post init ability configuration. That's not gonna work either. Dang it, why is this so difficult? I'm basically, all I wanna do is I just wanna store the update phase here from the ability factory. I don't wanna invoke the ability factory again though. Maybe I'm just missing something about how to do the constructors in C#. All right. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do instead. Now, why is this broken all of a sudden? All right, this is just going to be easier if I don't get fancy with it. Let's just not. See, I'm trying to pass in a specific object for non-combat to enforce that this update phase is required. But that's just creating a whole bunch of problems. So let's just do this. We'll just default it to normal in the base one. Oh, is this? Now, why are all these broken now? Okay, I'm very confused, but that's all right. Let's just just get rid of this. Discard that. Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay. Why are these still broken? I feel like something's wrong. Let's just discard the non-combat ability as well. I don't need any of this stuff. Okay. Whatever. That's fine. Anyway, I have the update phase now. Nice to see Godot Dev. Welcome. Good to see you. I can't say your name, unfortunately, but the code looks so complex. I think, yeah, it probably looks that way. It's really not. It's not that complex, really. Okay, so now the big thing is I need to do non-combat roots dot order by x dot oops. Oh wait, base composed ability. I need to set the update phase in here actually. Okay, we'll just set it there. I don't need it in here. I'll just say update phase is equal to that. And we'll just slap this up here. Okay. All right, so now x dot update phase. Okay, and then we can return flatten all non-combat roots. All right. So essentially what's going to happen now is I go to the base card. We're going to remove these ones. We're still going to keep apply passive projected abilities. Oh, that's a little bit of a wrinkle. passive projected abilities comes before the late. Oh. Now why is that the case? Well, I guess I should probably just preserve the ordering. Passive projected roots. So how am I going to do this? The other thing that needs to happen here is this actually needs to be bucketed by... This actually needs to be bucketed by the update phase. And the reason for that is because I do need to rebuild the ability tree. I need to rebuild this ability tree for each bucket. Okay. So in Alchemortis, are there any economic relics or abilities present? Some, yes. Some of them. We love refactors, don't we, folks? Yes, we do. Just here to say hi and thank you so much for the video about playtesting. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you liked it. A little bit of a different video than I usually do, but I think it works. I don't think it's gonna go like mega viral or anything, but I think it's a fine addition to my collection. I don't know about all this. Let's see. So the problem is, like, this ability tree, I'm gonna need to basically change this because this is flattening everything. But I actually need to... I probably just need a different method here. I need like a list of base card ability. Get non-combat abilities bucketed. Get bucketed. Like, this is almost what I need to do. And we do the flatten mode additional filter. Am I ever using that? Let's see, flatten. Go flatten non-combat abilities. I'm never passing in a filter for that. So So that filter is just useless. Okay. So anyway, what I would do is I'd basically take this. I have to figure out what to do about these passive projected roots. That's not going to be good. Anyway, we don't need an additional filter. Okay, so we're going to do non-combat groups.group by x.update phase. I always forget what group by returns. It's an I enumerable of I grouping. So this is an I grouping. The key is what? I always get confused by how group by works. Yeah, it should be group.key. Yeah, it's a okay, so wait, this one should be, the key should be non-combat update phase. Oh, because this is reassigning. Let's do var grouped. So we've got the grouping ordered by key, and then we return grouped select many. Is that right? Select many. No, group.select. Latin. Latin all non-combat roots. So X should be a X. I need to look this up. How to get a list of all values in I grouping. ToList or ToArray. So this would be x.ToList. Right. Filter is null. Is that doing what I want it to do? Okay, so essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the non-combat roots. So we collect all the composed abilities with native roots where A is an I non-combat ability. Why is that A? Then we're taking that non-combat roots, we're grouping it by the update phase and ordering it by the key. What is the default enum ordering? ordered by their underlying numeric values in ascending order. Okay, so that does work. So we group it by the bucket, which is the update phase. Then we order it by the bucket so that the phases occur in order. And then we flatten them by bucket. So ultimately what I end up with is a list of lists where each index in the list corresponds to all of the flattened abilities in that bucket that need to be updated. I think that's correct. Now I do have to do something about this passive projected roots, but let's not worry about that just yet. Get bucketed non-combat abilities. This becomes a list of base card abilities. We return ability tree.get bucketed non-combat abilities. We don't need this filter here. Okay. Apply late non-combat abilities, whatever. I think what I can do, let me think about how this is going to work. Let's see. So we want to do this. Let's just get rid of that. We'll get rid of this. Okay. So in here, what I'm going to want to do actually is I'm going to want to var bucketed non-combat abilities, get bucketed non-combat abilities. Then we're going to do for each var bucket list. For each var bucket list in bucketed non-combat abilities. Me attempting to promote this game in the Wild Gem Discord. Awesome, thank you. Will you do early access or no? Probably not. No, I don't think there's a need to do early access. Yeah, I don't think there's a need for it. So for each var bucket list and bucketed non-combat abilities, we are going to want to do, we want to do a rebuild ability tree. Then we can grab all of these things. And then we do this. For each var ability in bucket list. I'm going to rename this to ability list. And then we'll do if additional tiers is not equal to 0, we'll update the tier. And then we can comment this out. Okay. So this is essentially doing those same phased updates because these were basically all the same. They were just doing different filtering. So now that I'm grouping by bucket, it's essentially just doing all that stuff, but in a single method. So now in here, what we do is we just do a single loop. Apply non-combat abilities. Okay. Now, do I have any remaining errors? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Do I have any remaining compilation errors? So I still need to figure out what to do with these passively projected abilities. I think what I will do is I'll just go to my update ability configuration. Where is that? Ability builder. So previously, passive projected comes before late. So let's just do passive projected. We'll do 4 and then 5. So I can just add more buckets as I need to. And the nice thing about this too is that previously it was calling all of the distinct phases, but now that I'm doing it by bucket, it's only going to update for any bucket that it has. So instead of stepping through all of these phases, like every card would step through all the phases because it just wasn't known ahead of time which phases there were. Now that I'm bucketing it, only the phases that the card actually has are going to be returned by that bucket method, which means that I'm basically just going to be only iterating over the minimal necessary set. So worst case scenario is a single card has abilities that are in all of these buckets. But even that's not bad because I'm getting the entire list up front and I'm just iterating over it. So it should be okay. But most of these items are just going to have like the normal. Oh, you know what I just realized? I don't think I'm doing this approach correctly. Shoot. I'm not doing this approach correctly. Dang it. Because I'm doing the bucket update on each card when I should be doing it across all cards. So it actually needs to be at this level. Oh, son of a biscuit. Okay. All right, well, I need to think about that. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we'll figure out what to do with this. This is a mess. I'm probably going to break all kinds of things, but oh well, whatever. Anyway, be right back in just 3 minutes, and we'll continue on. All right, I'm back. Okay, all right, so I need to reevaluate some of this. So apply non-combat abilities, I actually don't... think I'm going to use that anymore. Get bucketed non-combat abilities. So this is actually wrong. I think what I want to do... So I'm trying to think of, like, from the perspective of the board manager, what do I want? Like, I want some kind of collection. So what do I want? I want a collection sequentially ordered by update phase. In each update phase, I want a list of cards in execution order for that phase, as well as the list of flattened abilities to execute for that card. So we may end up with something like... I don't know, we may end up with something like, so for example, we might want, I'm just going to kind of do this in a little bit of pseudocode. We might want something like, so update phase dot early. And we want that to be paired with another list. Now this could either be like a tuple, like we could do card abilities or something like that. And then we have like another one, we have like update phase dot late, and then we do a list of tuples, which is like this. And so that would turn into something like, for each var phase in phases, and then we'll do something like for each var card in phase dot value. So I'm just, I'm assuming that's like a dictionary or something like that. It could just be maybe a bunch of tuples as well. And then we do for each. Yeah, so maybe we do something like card dot execute non-combat abilities, and then we return. So this would actually be a tuple. This would be like card abilities. And then we would do card dot execute non-combat abilities. I think that will work. So I need to change this. This almost needs to return a dictionary where the key is the ability builder dot non-combat update phase. Get bucketed non-combat abilities. So we want to return, this would be a dictionary. ability builder dot non-combat update phase. Like so. So we have the grouped. We have grouped by update phase ordered. So we don't need this order by anymore. We'll do the ordering later. So then I can just do return grouped dot to dictionary. We're going to do x dot key, but then we're going to do flatten all x dot to list null. Okay. So we're getting all the composed abilities. We're grouping it by update phase. And then for each update phase, we're inserting that in a dictionary key. And then we're taking the grouped value and we're flattening that list out. Oh, right. I probably still do want to order this actually. Or do I want to order this? No. Do I want to order that? I don't think so. I don't think I need to, because this is just on a single card. So it's just going to get all the abilities for that phase. And I think that should preserve the order. Let's see. Let me just... Does group by, preserve, order C#. Guarantees that order is preserved. Okay, good. All right, so we're returning this get bucketed non-combat abilities. All right, so now where in the heck? Okay, so that's returning that. That's also public. Okay, so we're just gonna ignore this method for now. So now we're going to want some kind of so we're going to do var update. I don't know, we'll just call it update dictionary, I guess. We're going to do ability builder dot up non-combat update phase. I'm just going to use a tuple for now. Maybe I'll use a different data structure. But this is going to be a list of tuples with base card, and then what is this actually returning? It's returning a list of abilities. So list base card ability. Is it safe to do this? I think I can. So let's do var bucketed abilities in here. So go to card, get bucketed non-combat abilities. For each var KVP in bucketed abilities. Update dictionary dot try get value KVP dot key out var card ability tuples, card ability tuples nullable equals that. Otherwise, we do card ability tuples dot add card kvp dot value. Okay, so we're constructing that dictionary where we don't really need to construct that dictionary. I mean, maybe I'll just do this in a separate list. It's fine. Or a separate iteration, I mean. Okay, and then we can just define this down here. Because if we're not doing a contingent state update, then we don't need to create that dictionary. bucketed abilities get bucketed non-combat abilities, and then we're basically just appending that result to the existing dictionary. Oh, I need to also do update dictionary kvp.key is equal to card ability tuples. Okay. So this becomes for each var bucket in update dictionary dot order by x dot key. So we go in the correct order. We want to do, let's see, this will become public void execute non-combat abilities list base card ability. So we do want to do a rebuild ability tree here. And then we want to do this, I think. Let's change this to ability list. And let's just comment this out. So we're passing in the list of abilities that it should execute for that phase. We rebuild the ability tree. Let's just do execute bucketed non-combat abilities, whatever. No. Okay, and then we create an execution context for the card. We iterate over all the abilities, we execute them, and then we just make sure to update the tier if additional tiers is not equal to 0. Maybe I should just update the tier anyway. Actually, yeah, I don't know. This update might be unnecessary, but so this bucket is a list of tuples. Var, let's do card ability list in bucket. Card.execute non-combat abilities ability list. Okay. Well, I have no idea if that's going to work, but we can't even test it yet because I need to update I need to update everything. Okay, let's just do this. I don't know what this passive projected roots is doing. Roots where passive projected roots contains R. I think, is that redundant? Because the passive projected roots are never being added. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessary. I might need to include... I'll just make a note to look into that. Anyway. Thankfully, we only have a couple of places where this is a thing, so I can pretty easily test all these to make sure they're working. But this update phase is going to be equal to passive projected. Here, here, and here. Okay, now we can do non-combat composed ability. Yeah, so I think I've already set this to default to the normal phase, right? Composed ability. It's ability builder. Update phase is combat update phase normal. Okay. So let's do early non-combat composed ability. Let's figure out where all this is used. So Acolyte, this becomes update phase early. This one becomes update phase early. This one becomes update phase early. Update phase early. And then the thing is, I can change these to non-combat composed abilities. Okay, so now we can do late non-combat composed ability. Find out where this is used. And we can just put the update phase as late here. This one needs to be priority, because that's the tier increase one. Okay, and then so anywhere where late non-combat composed ability is used, Okay. So now if I find all references, I shouldn't have that anymore. So now I can go ahead and delete. I can delete this. And then early non-combat composed ability. Oh, I should. Oh, it did delete that. Oh, interesting. I was under the impression that Godot would not delete the UID file if you didn't delete it through the editor, but maybe that's not the case. Okay, so we can delete this one too. Okay, then we can do I early non-combat ability. Where is this used? Nowhere. So we can delete this one. And then the I late non-combat ability. We can delete this one. Okay, I'm not going to delete all these comments just yet because I want to make sure that it works. So as is customary, it's probably not going to work the first time, but that's okay. We will simply throw a hissy fit and complain and whine until it gets fixed. Okay. So let's see if this fixes it. No, it didn't. So the tier is being updated properly, that's correct. But the problem is I'm back to the original issue, which is that, so this says that it reduces by 0.8 seconds because its tier has been increased. But the Skeleton Warrior is not having its cooldown. It's supposed to be at 2.2 cooldown, and it's at 2.5. So it's using the unscaled version of the Skeleton Commander's ability. Now the thing that's a little bit weird is that, I mean, I'm just gonna have to check that this is all working correctly. So let's launch. No, not launch. Well, no, not launch. I want to connect, attach to process. Okay. So let me just make sure that this is looking sensible here. So if I do update dictionary order by key, can I do order by key dot to list? Okay. So we've got priority, and then we've got normal, and then we've got late. So does that make sense? I think that makes sense. So our priority, we have one value in here. We've got the immovable monolith, and then inside of its ability list, we've got query target provider generic ability. So that makes sense, because if we look at the immovable monolith, we've got, where's the tier increase? Here. So we've got this generic ability, target dot additional tiers plus equals tier increase. Okay. And then for the normal one, what do we got? We have in here the Skeleton Commander, which is doing the turn cooldown modification, so that's correct. What do we have in late abilities here? Immovable monolith, non-combat composed ability, cooldown override. So where is cooldown override? So this is a late one. Right, okay. This is kind of a pain in the rear to test. Let me edit this breakpoint. Let's just say cards.length equals 3. I swear these conditional breakpoints don't work. What is this actually? Oh, this is cards.count. Cards.length. I don't know why these conditional breakpoints don't work sometimes. Maybe if I just launch it with that conditional breakpoint, and we'll see. I'm a beginner at game development. What should I learn first? If you're new to programming, you should learn programming fundamentals first. And then beyond that, yeah, beyond that, you just... Why is this not working? Condition for a breakpoint failed to execute. The name cards does not exist in the current context. How? It's right there. I'm looking right at it. Recommend learning the code first. To me, art and animations are very easy, but it also depends on what you want to do and what engine. Yeah, I think programming is probably like the problem with being a beginner to game development is like, if you don't have programming experience and you try to jump into learning an engine at the same time, you're like compounding your difficulty curve, right? So not only do you have to learn how to learn how to use the engine, but you also learn how to program, need to learn how to program. And a lot of times the way that you write scripts for game engine code is like a little bit weird compared to, or a little bit non-standard compared to like how you would typically write a program or code. So it's like, yeah, you just have like all these different difficulty curves to get over. So yeah, if you learn programming fundamentals first, that could slightly reduce your difficulty curve. All right, well, if it's not going to let me do a conditional breakpoint, then I'm just going to do this. I will outsmart the debugger. Weird question. Does the publisher have opinions on when and how to do playtesting? I mean, yeah, like, look, I coordinate with my publisher on all kinds of things because it's a partnership, right? Like, we both want to do what's best for the game. And so if the publisher has opinions about, like, here's when to do something or here's how long a playtest should be or whatever, of course I'm going to listen to that because they're coordinating a lot of stuff, right? So yeah, it's like, you know, it's we're working together to create the best result possible for the game. And so of course I'm going to listen to their input on various things, right? Okay, let's see what happens here. All right, so we've got, let's just do update dictionary order by this. Oh, .toList. Okay. So we've got 3 buckets. We've got priority, normal, and late. Now I'm wondering, let me think about this. I'm realizing now that I may have a slight issue. So in the previous version of how this updating was working, it was calling these methods on every card, regardless if the card had passive abilities or not. And I'm realizing now that there's actually a chunk of that that is relevant for all cards, even if they don't have passive abilities, which is that I probably do want to be updating the tier and rebuilding the ability tree as like final steps. Across all items, across all cards. Because right now this is just very narrowly targeting the cards with passive abilities. But previously it was rebuilding all cards. Now the question is, I don't know, like add, let's see. It may not be necessary because the only time I would need to rebuild the ability tree on a card that doesn't have passive abilities is like when I add passively projected abilities, but that does rebuild the ability tree there. So as soon as a card gets a new ability added to it, like let's say I have a card that has no passive abilities, but I have a card that puts a passive ability on it. As soon as that passive ability gets added, it rebuilds that other card's ability tree. So that should be fine. The only other problem I could see is that, yeah, no, I think, let me think about this. I think, let me think. Yeah, I'm gonna need to do some extra updates, I think. In any case, so let's go to my skeleton commander. Turn cooldown modification. I'm just gonna put a breakpoint here. Magnitude is negative. So I'm dealing with the same problem here. But why is that the case? Oh, yeah, I think the problem... Right, I know what the problem is. So So the problem is basically exactly what I was just talking about, which is that the immovable monolith is adding, so it's increasing the tier, but that tier is actually not being updated until that card executes. So I think this is just a problem. I mean, this is mostly a problem of like how my tier update is working. I think what I probably should be doing is I should probably be updating the tier as soon as that gets increased. So I'm just changing a number, but what I probably should be doing, this additional tiers, private set. Let's do modify additional tier. Additional tiers plus equals modification. Now I probably don't need to do this modify tier in here now. I think that will fix it. Let's see. Hello, Vifin. Welcome. I was wondering if all the things in your game use custom sprites or do you have a theme for a common UI? Sorry, one second. Do I have a theme for a common UI? I mean, I do have UI themes for a lot of the common elements, but a lot of the UI also is like custom for that specific element. So yeah, I don't have, I do have a theme that I use, but like this drawer and this drawer, they have special themes. But if you look at like the pause menu, that's a very basic like panel theme that's reused all the time. This has its own theme, obviously, but the buttons are all the same. Whoa. Okay, that's broken. Anyway. I wonder why that's happening. Interesting. Anyway. So yeah, there are some common themes and some not. Recently played the demo for this and really enjoyed it. Thank you for your hard work. It really shows. Oh, thank you, Roy Martini. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. Obviously a lot more work to do, but I'm just curious because I'm kind of worried if I should start asking around for publishers before doing some public testing. Yeah, I mean, the thing about publishers is like, you know, like it's a contract, right? It's not like publishers are like these domineering entities that will just like shove these terrible terms in your face and then say like sign or else, right? Like you have options. It's like if your game is good enough, it might attract the attention of multiple publishers, right? And so you might be able to just kind of like go with whatever one is the most friendly to you, right? You can also counter offer and negotiate and all that stuff. And like, you know, it's definitely a situation where like you can come to terms that are good for you and good for the publisher at the same time. So if you're worried about like having creative control, that's something that you can negotiate, right? A lot of the good publishers, they won't even ask like for IP rights or anything like that. I'm a developer with over 2 years of experience. I'm starting using Godot 4 to develop a game, but I'm struggling with creating pixel art. Doesn't turn out well. How do I improve at this? I have a video on my channel, how to get good at pixel art with no skill. So you can check that out if you're interested. That may help. I think pixel art is, a lot of the difficulty is just figuring out like what, okay, that seems to be working now. A lot of the difficulty is figuring out like, what are the fundamentals, right? Like what are the things that you should just always be thinking about and always be doing? And so that video on my channel is like an attempt to give you 5 things to think about with respect to your pixel art. And for me personally, when I discovered those 5 things, like the quality of my art went up substantially, like noticeably, almost overnight. And it's just little things, like it's things about like choosing the right colors. How do you choose colors? How do you do outlines properly? How do you use negative space, right? So yeah, you could check that out if you want. Hello, Snuff Bill. Thank you for the... No, never mind. Thank you for the yummers. I'm so used to just like, hello, Snuff Bill. Thank you for the IDR. That's okay, though. That's okay. I always appreciate the yummers. I'm just on robot mode here. But welcome back, Snuff Bill. Good to see you. Hello, Junie. Good to see you as well. I think you were here, right, Junie? Yeah, you were. I'm losing my mind here. Hello, Artem. Playtesting the game right now. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so this is working now. Now we got to check the other things. So let's do add item sage. Yeah, so that works. Okay. So this is working now. So we can see that that is being updated to 0.8 second reduction, and this is being updated to 2.2 correctly. What other things do I need to test here? I might move this to priority. Let's try the infusion alter, I guess. This is going to require quite a lot of testing. Okay. So yeah, I think that's probably good. I'm gonna have to like very thoroughly test all of this, but the one thing that I'm worried about is, yeah, this is the thing that I was confused by in my ability tree. So this condition used to be find the roots where the passive projected roots does not contain R. But the thing is, passive projected roots is an entirely different This is an entirely different thing. So it was doing a check when I'm collecting all the roots, when I'm flattening all the abilities, it was saying find the roots where the root is not inside of passive projected roots, but that should never be the case. Like this is an entirely separate data structure. So I think that condition is just like not relevant. And I also don't need this passive projected only anymore. Now wait a minute. Well, one way to try this is to test it with the infusion altar. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just test the infusion altar, I guess. See if it still works. Pavlov's dogs over here conditioned to receive IDR 10,000 for the first time. You see yummers from Snowpill. Yeah, it's true. Hello, Mel's. Welcome. I am Jacob F. Welcome. Long time no chat, but just wanted to hop in and say congrats on the publisher. Keep crushing it. Thank you. I appreciate that. If I hover over corpse pile in the stash, it highlights 3 bottom horizontal cells. Center dots becomes white. Should be that way? Yeah, it should be. I think that's fine. Yeah, because this targets minions on the bottom edge of the board. So that's the bottom edge there. Anyway, let's try the infusion altar. Well, that is working. I think this code is functionally the same. Influences bottom edge, yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to do some cleanup here. I'm going to need to do a lot more testing on this, but this already seems like it's a lot nicer. Because now I don't have to worry about like doing all this stuff all the time. I do want to test one thing here. We don't need this passive projected only. Okay. I want to test one more thing here. Deals 7 damage. Let's see if that works. Should. Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, it seems to be working. Well. I will have to test that out for sure and make sure everything's good. Okay. All good. It's time for game day once again. Yes, indeed, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. Yesterday, I built a server in Python and user interface in Godot. What I mean is that the server itself is written in Python and all the data is stored there. The game runs in Godot and sends requests to the server. Very nice. That's cool. It's very cool. I've been interested in toying around with Spacetime DB. That sounds like fun. But alas, I have to work on Alchemortis. Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream. I'm going to go get some lunch, but the playtest is available right now, so you could go to the Steam page, click Request Access. I also released a new YouTube video this morning, so if you want, you can go check that out. And yeah, thank you all for your support. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to be it for the stream today. So I hope that hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, bye-bye.